My name is Rajan Shah. I'm the CEO of Capwell Industries Limited. Capwell Industries has been around for around 27 years. It's a food and beverage company based out of Thika here, which is 40 kilometers from Nairobi. We are primarily playing in the major value chains of cereals, which is maize, wheat, rice, pulses, other ancient grains like millets. And we process these grains. We support the local farmers. We buy as much as what we can procure locally from the farmers and process that into consumer goods, finished consumer goods. In the last few years, we have also kind of gone into more value add out of the primary milling into other processes like baking, into biscuit manufacturing, chapati manufacturing. We are also making beverages out of cereals and so forth, and that's the value chains that we are playing in. So I'll probably start by talking about what's the purpose of Capwell, which is enrich lives through nutrition, and that's what sits at the center of whatever we do. Whatever products we innovate has to sit on nutrition, but nutrition goes just beyond just products and consumers. How do we touch on nutrition with our other stakeholders like the farmers? How do we touch with nutrition with our employees? How do we touch with nutrition with government in terms of policies? So that's where our purpose of nutrition sits with across a broad range of stakeholders. But coming to in terms of product development, we started our nutrition journey very much at the beginning of when this company was actually formed, and we were actually one of the first companies to start fortification of maize flour when it was not even mandatory in this country, but another 10 years down the road it became mandatory. We have recently also launched fortification of rice, again not mandatory, but we have voluntarily done that. In the space of nutrition, I think 2 years ago we started doing research, or maybe even 3 years ago we started doing research around how we can be able to give fortified whole grain flour in a package form. As we all know, our forefathers have been used to eating whole grain flour many decades ago, but they would just take their grains to a local mill, grind it, and then what is known as posho flour, and they would consume it in a few days. However, as urbanization increased in this country, as people moved more into urban areas, it became more and more difficult to have posho flours being because people did not have either access to the grains or access to local mills where they could grind and mill. And that motivated us as Capwell, that how can we continue this whole journey of whole grain flours and be able to package them in a way that can be shelf stable for a reasonable period of time. After doing research for 2 years, we came out with this product, which is the fortified whole grain, which is this Nutrigo that we launched 2 years ago actually. And it's been in the market. I would say that that's our success story when it comes to fortified whole grain flours, and this is just the beginning of that journey. We want to look at all the other grains that in the value chain where we can also present this as whole grain flours. Let me start by talking about some of the lessons we have learned in this journey of whole grain. As I mentioned, the consumer has changed. The consumer who was in the rural setting was used to eating whole grain flours. The new consumer in the urban setting are in the last few decades have been more used to eating refined flours which are more refined. All the nutrients, the good nutrients have been taken away, and what we are left with is primarily the carbohydrates and the refined flours. So the first challenge is how do you change the mindset and how do you convince this consumer that to go back into eating what are these healthier flours? And this is an ongoing journey of consumer education. We believe that as the consumer is getting more information, they're getting also more health conscious. the demand is there now to eat more healthy and nutritious foods. And in that journey, I think that's where we play a role to ensure that we give that education to the consumer. At the same time, I think that there's a trade-off between that nutrition and at times what consumers consider as taste. And how do you balance the two? And how do you balance so that it is as tasty as it is nutritious? And that's one of the things that took us a time to kind of come and balance the product to be able to be both nutritious and tasty. And I believe that we are getting there. And that consumer education is also very important. We are of course partnering with organizations like the Fortified Whole Grain Alliance, which I'm happy to say that we are a member of. And this whole initiative, which is the Fortified Whole Grain Alliance, is also helping us to see how we can spread this knowledge and word of the benefits of whole grain foods to the consumer. We also need government policies. We need to ensure that there's a change in government policies to be able to promote more of this kind of more nutritious products. So over and above the nutrition side, I think there's the whole sustainability side of things that we also need to take into account. The world's population will be over 10 billion by 2050. And we will have more mouths to fill, but the landmass, the Earth's landmass where we can grow food will always remain the same. So we'll need to grow more food and to feed this many people. Yet when we look at our grains, which is the major staples which are being consumed, we take away between 20 to 30% of it away from the human food chain. And why do we do that? We are removing the best part of the grain, the nutritious part. We'll need more grains by doing that. But by having this whole grain, we're actually being able to have this sustainability angle to be able to feed more people with lesser grains. And that's, I think, what we need to kind of really promote and do. And I think there's also the other angle that if you eat more nutritious foods, people will stay healthy. Governments will need less money in the healthcare system, and that money can be better used in other development needs. So I think it has a win-win situation across the board. One of the things as Capwell, I mean, it sits in our value statement, which is innovation, and we continuously keep on innovating. We work with partners. Maybe a case in example is we worked with an institution called Food for Education, which actually supports young children in the ECD program. The one in particular we were working on with is in Muranga County, where we actually, through our research and development lab, we developed a product for them, which is a 90-10 blend between maize and millet. And it's a product which is being distributed through Food for Education to these ECD programs to make uji. And this has been a great success, and we would like to see this kind of programs rolling out across the country to feed young children, but not only young children. I think it's a need across the board in the school feeding program. And as the government's funding permits, if we can roll this out, I think this is going to also be a great initiative to really find a way to take children back to school. I mean, through our Capwell Foundation, we are right now supporting about 34 schools through Uji school feeding program, where we provide them a cup of Uji every day to about 20,000 children across these 33 schools. And what we have found is that just by giving that, more and more children are enrolling back into school and into education. So this has a much multiplier effect over long-term benefit, and giving them a healthy, nutritious meal is no better way. I see a very bright future for the whole grains, and the reason why I say so is that it lies in our hands how we want to position this. We have to, of course, put a lot of effort to convince the consumer that it's good for them. We have to put a lot of effort to government that it's also good for them. We have to put a lot of effort for the farmers to say that it's also good for them. It's good for all stakeholders, and that work we need to start somewhere. We all need to step in and actually present these benefits to all the different stakeholders. But I believe that the future is bright. We have no option. As I mentioned to you, our population is growing at a fast rate. Our population is also living longer, and to stay and live longer and healthier, we just have no option but to go onto this journey of being able to eat nutritious whole grain foods. I will say that I'm very excited with this journey. The journey that Capwell started of its primary purpose, its deep purpose of enriching lives through nutrition, is a journey that I'm happy to kind of walk along with many other partners like the Fortified Whole Grain Alliance and many other stakeholders who together we are going to walk this journey and see a success out of it in the next few years, so that we can all be proud and say that we are building a better world for the future.